Howdy. Well, I am supercharged, super excited today because I'm going to start prepping this bar countertop first to receive our epoxy coat. I did 5 samples and number 5 was the winner. Now I know this is a long video, but I didn't want to leave out any of the steps in case any of you are interested in the exact finish that I did and the exact steps that I did them in. So here's my sample. So excited. I think it looks great with the backsplash, and it looks really nice with what I recovered my cushions in right here, back here behind the dinette. So if you're interested, I hope you enjoy the video. Well, I still am not there with my sample boards. I'm doing one more. It's all the epoxy I have left, really, to play with, because the rest of what I have is what I need for my kitchen countertops. But we're close, so hopefully I'll be there after this one. But I'm also out of sample boards that don't have epoxy on them, so this was sample board number 3. I prepped it by sanding it with 220 grit and then cleaning off the sand with alcohol. And now, because I'm doing a dirty pour, I am building a dam around the edges because I want the epoxy to be able to sit on there and really flow and meld together, because in a dirty pour you're using more epoxy than normal. Normally you'd use 3 ounces a square foot, and with a dirty pour you want to use 4 to 5. So, all right, got this ready. Now that board measures 16 inches by 16 inches. So that's step number 1, is to figure out my square feet. So 16 times 16 is 256, and a square foot is 12 by 12. So 12 times 12 is 144. Divide that by 144, and we get 1.77777. So I will round up to 2 square feet, and 2 times 4 ounces per square foot is 8. So I need to mix up 8 ounces. Now, this was my recipe on the previous sample, and I've changed out some things from what I was using, but I need to figure out my ounces. That last board I did was 12 ounces and not 8. Probably don't have to be this accurate, but you know, from faux finishing, when you make recipes and you want to be able to copy it, it's a good idea to be pretty accurate. So for 8 ounces, my parchment is 40%, so 40% of times 8 is 3.2. 20% of 8. It's going to be half that, 1.6. My tan mix, 15% of 8, 1.2, and that would be 1.2. 5% of 8 is not quite half an ounce, and so 2.5% would be 0.2. So the first step is to mix up 8 ounces of epoxy. This is part A, the resin. This is part B, the hardener. Part B, the hardener, is thinner than part A, the resin. You want to put the thin stuff in first. And I like to use these cups because they have ounce measurements on the side. So I need 4, and I hope I have 4. I don't really have quite 4. Well, it'll probably still work, because remember, it wasn't really 2 square feet, it was 1.77. I'm about at 3 ounces. So, guess I'll just be mixing up 6. For some reason, I have more resin than I had hardener. So I must not have mixed correctly at one point in time. Now, to mix it, you need to mix it for 2 minutes. And it's helpful if your products are warm. It's 75 degrees down here. You can put them in front of a space heater, not to heat it up too much, but cold epoxy doesn't mix very well. If your epoxy is too cold, it'll turn white when you mix it, but it does clear up. To start out, you want to put it at the bottom and then pull up. You don't want to hit the bottom of the cup or the sides unless you go real slowly to do that. But initially, I'm at the bottom, I pull up a little bit and go. Now these paddle beaters are what you want to use, and you shouldn't even bother trying to clean it. It hardens, it doesn't chip off in there. So then I just put it over an old dirty bucket and leave it upright to dry. I have these little tiny cups. They don't have ounces on them, but they have milliliters. And these larger cups do have ounces, so that's always helpful. So looking back at my recipe, all right, originally I had 12 ounces and I'm only doing 6, so I'll just half those numbers. Half of 4.8 is 2.4. Half of 2.4 would be 1.2. Half of 1.8 would be 0.9, so not quite an ounce. And not quite an ounce. And just a little bit more in one cup than the other 2. So first up is parchment. This is made by Just Resin. It is a pigment paste, and I got it from Artists Till Death out of Dallas. And it's not going to take very much, but I do want it to be opaque. And it's nice to use these wooden popsicle sticks. That was a hint from all the videos that I've watched, because when you lift it up, you can measure your opaqueness or transparency by knowing, looking and seeing whether or not you can see the grain in the wood. And that's good. Next is white, which is made by Alumilite, and I got it from StoneCoat Countertops. Doesn't take too much of it either, but I do want it opaque, so. Yeah. Add another tiny drop. Okay. I got my stick in this one. The next was Almond using spray paint. This is Rust-Oleum. That should be the only brand of spray paint you use, because apparently other brands just don't work well with the epoxy. You don't want to use too much spray paint if you're mixing the epoxy, because it'll make your epoxy really runny. So you're always going to have a more transparent epoxy with spray paints. And I mixed a tan in the last one. And you know, I mixed it using white and brown. But that, you know, kind of makes a more on a gray side. So I'm thinking I'm going to take my parchment stick here. And honestly, you can get this too dark real quickly. So I'm just going to put some out on the board here. Yeah, I like this color much better. It's a really good color. Yeah. Okay, next up, Pearl Mica. And that's my 5% amount. It's something this small, it doesn't take very much of it either. And I just put white in there instead of pearl. Wouldn't you know? Okay. We'll add pearl. Wonderful. So this is white and pearl. Oh yeah, and a brown dye. I used burnt umber before, didn't like it on the sample because it had a kind of a reddish hue. And lastly is the pewter. I need to move these cups so that I can put my board out. All right, in this cup that I mixed the epoxy in, it's nice and coated, so that's what I need. And, oh yeah, let's just put all these out. I want to put them in the order that I'm going to use them most of the time, but I will say this, I've been recording every time I make a sample, so I listed all my steps as you saw earlier. Spray paints. I'm using Almond. Using white. Now, I did use this pewter gray, but to me, it made the sample, the grays, look more blue. So I'm eliminating that one. This is a hammered white. A French beige. This board's so small, I don't have a lot of room here. A warm gold. And I didn't put this in this last sample, but I have used it in the other samples. Even though you're only supposed to use satin to gloss, one lady that actually teaches StoneCoat in Texas, a lot of times in her dirty pour, she will use a matte clear. So, whoa! Well, that was almost a catastrophe. Goodness gracious. Let's hope this pour isn't going like what I'm having happen here. I think I will put these down here. Okay. Here we go again. So my first thing I'm going to add to this bucket is some almond. Next is parchment. And when you pour it, you don't want to put a lot, just a little. If you pour it wider or pour more, you'll just have wider veins. Now I'm going to use a shot of clear matte, just one. Now my white. Number 5, I did warm gold. Six, my tan mix. White hammered. Did my almond. Remember, this is the almond spray paint in the epoxy. Warm gold. Brown dye. do a spray paint. I went with pewter next. Back to almond. Parchment. White. White epoxy. Then I did my tan mix. French beige. Almond. Hammered white. Pearl. And this is pearl and metallic white because I messed up. Parchment. French beige. White. Almond. The rest of my pearl. Almond. Parchment. Oh, white spray paint. And the white. And the brown. Matte. Pewter. Parchment. Warm gold. Tan mix. Almond. Shouldn't turn that cup over yet because I had more list. White. And I ended with pewter, but I'm not going to this time because I don't want that much gray. I have a little more almond in this cup, so I think that's what I will add instead of the pewter. Carefully move that because I don't want those to mix. Now, what I'm doing here is using the rest of the epoxy in these cups and getting it out onto the board. I don't care if these colors mix. All this doesn't matter because it's not going to show. But I need to grease the board so that the epoxies, when you do the dirty pour, will flow. And then I'm just going to use this popsicle stick to coat the board. Make sure I get my edges. Now we are going for a marble look. So I want my veins to be all kind of the same direction. They won't be in the end because they flow differently. But I want to make sure that I am doing it at an angle. And not like straight up and down or this direction. So I'm going to be pouring it at an angle. Here we go. You also have to remember that whatever you've put in first is what's going to come out last. And when scraping the rest of this, I want to be careful not to mix them. Want to grab it on my stick. And fill in between. Got some off the board here that I can grab. Now I can tell this board is not totally level either because it's pooling in the corners. I'm not liking the squiggle, so I'm going to try to eliminate that squiggle right now. So it won't move. All that squiggly. Now I'm going to use my heat gun and heat it up a little bit to let it help it to move, and then we're just going to let it sit for a few minutes. Alright, just gonna let it sit and see where it wants to go. Although, I don't like that circle. time to let it sit. It's been about 10 minutes. See a little surface tension right there. Don't really like this squiggly line. Move it a little bit with my stick. Alright, I'm going to heat it up again and see if I can open up some of these areas. When you heat it up, if you hold it straight up, it opens them out. And then if you go to the side, it blows the lines, the veins, one way or the other. White spray paint there. When heat hits that white spray paint, it does this lacing effect, which I really like, but I don't want a ton of it. That's why I'm careful with using the white. But you know what? I let this sit about 30 minutes last time before I took the dam off. But I think I'm going to go ahead and take it off now. So we can get some more movement and it will spread out a little bit more. This is really pretty. I think I finally have it where I want it. You can also, I'll show you, pick up these drips, and if there's an area that you just don't love, add some fracture lines to them. Or just follow the pattern that it's creating.
That looks good.
Like it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we have a winner. Yeah, I've got a few little air bubbles. I don't want to hit it too much because it'll move too much.
Is that an easy pour?
I mean,
technical.
40 steps
Okay.
of pouring in the bucket. But yeah,
I mean, it was all a dirty pour, and then just
it was one dirty pour,
and then just a little bit of detail.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really do much detail. I picked up a couple of things. I didn't really like this area, so I added a couple of little drizzles there, and I added one right in here.
Yeah.
But that was it.
It's gonna be cool.
Yep, I like it. What you think, Randy?
I think you got it.
Not too wild?
Nope.
Well, you know, each pour will be a little different. Well, it'll just be 2 pours. The bar top's what I'm gonna do first. And I'm starting to prep it today. If you got all the way to the end, thanks for watching. Bye, have a good one, and see you soon.